Welcome to Life is for Living channel. I'm your host, Kylee Buckley, and I'm here with David J. Riddell from the School of Living Wisdom. Welcome, David.
Well, thank you. I'm good to be here.
Today, we're going to continue on from the recording we did on bipolar in what is it? Bipolar in moderation.
Without moderation,
Oh, okay, without moderation.
it'll do.
We David spoke about two types of bipolar. One needs to be medicated. That's bipolar one. The second bipolar, you can actually control by your thinking and by recognizing your highs and your lows and moderating your thoughts. Um, just speak very briefly about that, David, and then we'll talk into the truth coaches to help you.
Oh, well, yes, it is a bit like diabetes type 1 and type 2. Type 1, you're going to need insulin injections. Type 2, you can fix with a lifestyle change, a radical lifestyle change. With bipolar type 1, you'll need lithium salts to manage it. But with type 2, you can heal that with truth coaches and with making some changes to your thinking. So we went into that in the last session in some depth. But I did want to say that you're not going far without some key truth coaches. So is that the direction you want to go in, Kylie?
Yes, let's run through them. So, here is a list of truth coaches to help you regain a new emotional stability. Number one, Mimic Me delivers carnage, but am I yet fully persuaded on that score? So, is it still such an asset in my life to go so hard out? Really? What does history teach me is coming next?
All right, just clarify the first word, please.
Mamic, Manic, me.
Yeah, manic me. And manic me means I'm going hard out to be amazing, to be a showstopper, to be a star. I'm going hard out to have the exhibition of the year. I'm going hard out to impress my teacher, my classmates, my parents. I'm going hard out because I have a gift and I'm going to let this gift control me and dominate me. And so that's good, isn't it? That brings me success, doesn't it? That's what my identity is based on, isn't it? And so you overfeed this little monster, and this little monster takes you over to the point where you go hard out, and then you crash. The energy runs out, the emotional energy leaves you flat and lifeless, and you begin to despair. You've spent far too much money, you've spent far too much time, you've burned off some friends with your arrogance or your excitement, and as a result, now you're left to clean up the pieces. And so then hits the depression, the despair, you're in far too much debt, you can't reconcile with the friends you've burned off. The depression hits hard afterwards. And my job will be to help you talk yourself up when you're down and to change your focus, because whatever gets your attention in life is going to get you. And you've let the wrong thing get your attention for too long. And if you're going too hard out for too long, you'll burn up your circadian rhythms. And guess what? They have a way of hitting back. So we need some truth coaches for you to nurture and look after your circadian rhythms, to talk yourself up when you're too far down and you're into despair before you make that final terrible, terrible mistake that people in despair often make. Or if you're too high and you're working every hour God made and you're working through the night and you don't knock off till 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning, you cannot sustain that. And the result is going to be a crash sooner or later. And that's bipolar type 2.
Right. Number two, what is the other feeling that I am so afraid of that I feel I have no choice but to overperform, overachieve, work so fast, talk so fast, think so fast? Well, what is the feeling I so desire that I'll do anything to get it?
If you are being chased by the hound of rejection, the hound of despair, if you're being chased by the hound of failure or the hound of abandonment, if you're being chased by the hound of being nobody, then you've got to keep a step ahead of that thing that's trying to pounce on you. And as long as you're over functioning and over performing as a way of coping with the fear of being nobody or dismissed or sacked or whatever it is, then you're going to burn out, you're going too hard, and you're in panic mode, you're in flight mode. And the result of that is your system can't keep up with you. You're going to fall over. You desperately need some genuine internal reassurance, because all of these external props you're building around your life and around yourself, they're not giving you permanent reassurance. Hey, if you succeed, you're only as good as your last game. If you succeed, you're only as good as your last exam or your last showtime. And there's no security in that at all. In fact, it can feed the insecurity. So we want to find some truth coaches to heal the deep, old insecurity that's possibly been in your life since you were a child. And we do that with truth coaches.
Mm-hmm. Number 3, when did I learn that I have to obsess, overfunction, and swim like mad just to keep my head above the water? When did I learn to do this?
It was to gain approval. It was to gain popularity. It was to avoid rejection. It was to hear the words of praise, encouragement, and affirmation you longed for from your father or stepfather. It was to achieve that thing that makes the ache in your heart go away even for a short time. I learned over functioning to try and get big people's approval. And then I learned over functioning to try and get approval of myself. And then I learned over functioning to try and get rich or to try and get popular. And all of those things resulted in a descent into despair, into failure, and into suicidal ideation as I discovered that I could never measure up or be enough.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that sounds familiar to a lot of our audience.
Yes, yes. That was me 2 years ago. Totally. Yeah. But anyway, number 4, I am safe now in the truth that Jesus taught. If God the Father indeed be for me, then what really is there that can harm me now?
And many of these crises of mental emotional health are there because of a void, because of a gap, because of a crisis in faith. Those who have a divine being backing them up, who have a God who calls himself Father and validates us and backs us up, those who have faith have a far less likelihood of ending up in a bipolar state because they're not panicking. They have the calm reassurance that a loving and merciful God is going to work it out. But those that don't have this reassurance, don't want this reassurance, actively fight against this reassurance, they have no safety net, Kylee. They have no safety net, so there is fear and anxiety stalking them all the time. No confidence in their own worth, in their own eternal value. And so they're trying to pay their own way. And this can get more and more challenging every single day. They perform harder and get more exhausted and more anxious. And the harder they perform, the more exhausted they get. Because, try harder is not the gospel.
Mm.
And be a star and be a standout all the time. It puts such pressure on people in show business, people who make fighting a living out of fighting, a living out of winning. Nobody wins all the time. So who are you when you're not winning? You need a truth coach to reassure you that you're actually a human being, not a human doing.
Yes. Nice. Number 5, it's slow boat time. So stop, smell the roses, deliberately walk slower, breathe, sit in the sun, slow down. Normal isn't boring, and ecstasy, constant excitement, isn't superior.
Are you addicted to constant excitement? Are you always looking for larger than life activities to keep you pumped? Do you go from one exciting thing to another in an ever faster spinning hamster wheel? You know, when people live in that state, they end up addicted to highs, and as soon as they're not on a high, they feel depressed. They fall flat because if it's not exciting, it's nothing. And so they really need a reassurance to say, make peace with yourself and go back to smelling the roses, go back to cultivating an attitude of gratitude for simple things like clean air, a beautiful flower, a sunrise, a sunset, a nice meal. Reassure yourself that it doesn't have to be super duper to be a blessing. And reassure yourself that you must learn contentment with or without all things. And as St. Paul says, I've learned to be content when I abound and when I'm abased. Not many people take that seriously. And as a result, their peace of mind is very fragile and easily destroyed. If any little thing isn't right, they are distraught, they are devastated. It's a fragile life, that life. And I want to say to people, one of the best solutions you can have to bipolar is to learn the truth coaches that will bring you down when you're too high, back to reality, back to some healthy pessimism, or up when you're down and bring you back into positive thinking when everything is doom, gloom, and utter despair. Your mind has turned against you, and you got to train your mind to be your friend in every situation. And we use the relevant and tailor-made truth coaches built just for you to do that.
Very good words there.
Now, you can have a private counseling session with myself or one of my staff anytime by checking the Living Wisdom website, www.livingwisdom.co.nz or www.livingwisdom.com.au. We have Living Wisdom counselors in several places in the world, and their skill and their training is in talking to you until they find the missing insights your parents never taught you, writing them out for you to dwell on so that you can heal your own mind quickly, effectively, efficiently.
Yes. Okay, number 6. Who has earned my trust? Yet their judgment I am still not trusting above my own. My behavior is hurting them in ways that I will not remember, nor even consider when I return to normal. And that's not okay.
Well, it's very like intoxication, the manic state. You often don't remember what you were like and what it was like to live with you while you were in the manic state. You know, your poor spouse, mum, father, son, daughter, they were trying to tame the tiger and they couldn't do it. And so when you finally come out of that manic state, there's hurt and pain and devastation all around you, and you can barely remember the things you said or did while you're in that state. You were too high, and you'll always regret, how did I say that? Why did I say that? Why did I do that to the one I love the most? And the answer is you were too high. You were too excited, and the moderator was hiding behind the couch. The moderator that keeps you sane and on the level was in terror behind the armchair because they had lost contact with you, and you were out there doing your own thing, wishing upon a star and bouncing around the universe at the time.
Number 7, am I still a good parent, kind, patient, attentive, and hands-on? Or are my children now paying the price for my obsessive self-indulgence and rush, rush, rush?
Or sometimes the fastest way to look at yourself and get a realistic grip on what you're like to live with is look at yourself through your children's eyes. What are they going to see? Are they going to see a mother bear in full flight? Are they going to see a tiger? What are they going to see? A witch on a broom? What are they going to see? A monster bully who doesn't listen, doesn't take no for an answer, doesn't negotiate, wants every word to be law, and I said it, that settles the matter, and anything else is back chat and insolence. Those people are not fun to live with, and sometimes they are people suffering bipolar.
Mm. Okay, number 8, the warning bells should go when I'm working into the night, even the small hours, when normal people are sleeping, like going like smoke and congratulating myself on how productive or creative I am. It's high time to reset the buzz that comes and remember the injurious harm done to my circadian rhythms.
Well, bipolars need warning bells, you know. If you're entering the marathon or the ultra marathon and you haven't done the work, your warning bells should be going off because you're certainly scaring the daylights out of the family that love you. They know they're going to have to pick you up off the track halfway to glory. Or if you're working past midnight every night, they're warning you. They're saying you're working too late, you're going too late, you're going to have a problem. And she said, no, 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 I've got this, I've got this. Again, I say that when a person is entering a manic phase, the first thing to go and the first warning sign is that they lose the ability to practice self-awareness. They actually stop monitoring themselves. If you say to them at a party, have you noticed that you're the only one dancing on the table? You're the only one talking so loud. You're the only one that is talking non-stop. Have you noticed that? I can tell you now they won't have. They won't have noticed it. And if you pull their attention to it, they'll immediately justify it. Oh, Dave, look, all the rest of these party poopers are just old squares. I'm having none of it. Or, you know, they need a stir up and I'm just the man to give it. They excuse this manic behavior as somehow normal for them. But they're beyond correction, and sometimes you've got to put them on medication or wait for it to run its course before you get to talk to the actual person once again.
Right. So just a thought there, people that are like this, is it like they, do they get triggered like with sugars and things like that? Would diet contribute to it?
Well, sugar can certainly do it, but I don't call that bipolar. That's just a sugar overdose or an energy overdose or even an adrenal overdose. That's a lifestyle thing and a diet problem. And I don't know. I've heard about food colouring. Personally, I doubt that that's the problem, but certainly adrenaline and sugar can contribute. But again, that's not what I would term bipolar. That's just a dumb choice regarding your diet.
Right. Okay. Number 9, wherever there's anger, there's a sense of threat. So what actually is the threat to me and how real is it?
Well, it's true. You know, we call the dogs out when there's an intruder on the property, and we call our anger out whenever there's an intruder on our heart or emotions. So, what is the unbearable feeling that's stalking you at the gate? What is the enemy at the gate that caused you to draw your sword and blow your fuse and blow your temper? What is the threat? Remember, rage and panic are blood brothers. So if you're struggling with rage, you got to figure out where the panic's really coming from, and you've got to address it. You can't just bury it. You got to look at it. And if you're being kept up by delusions of grandeur, delusions of greatness, delusions that you're going to be before thousands of people one day, you got to ask yourself, where is this really coming from? Why am I feeding it? What need in my life am I trying to meet with delusions of grandeur or with delusions of omnipotence or with delusions of great wealth? What need am I compensating for? Until you get real with yourself, you're probably not going to beat this one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 10, what does moderation mean? Shackled, controlled, compromised, braked, stifled, or balance, consideration, sustainability, or deliberately pacing myself?
Well, you can see that when you try and correct somebody in a manic phase, they don't like it. In fact, for them at that point, correction is like cutting their throat. It's like tying them to a post. At that point, correction is like rejection or criticism or cutting out their jugular, and they don't like it. No manic person caught up in that mania does well with accepting correction. Why? Because your correction is cutting across their emotions, and they're at the height of emotion-based reasoning. They are utterly loyal to those feelings, and those feelings hold sway, and they may not lose their grip for 1, 2, 3, 4 days, even a week. And those feelings are so powerful, the person is now going to roll down the slippery slope. They've lost their grip, they've lost reality, and they're not coming to a stop till they hit the bottom. And then they're going to wake up and be filled with disappointment, self-hatred, self-loathing, despair, and they're facing a long climb to get back up there. And that's why we call truth coaches like ice axes. You can ram that thing into the ice and hang on when you feel yourself starting to slide into the old habit of super optimism, the old habit of delusions of grandeur or arrogance or believing that you're superior to everyone else because of your gifting.
Right. Am I siding with the facts, the evidence, against my dominating feelings, or being driven by powerful emotions regardless of the reality of the situation?
Tough thing to step out of that bed and survey the mess you've got it in. Tough thing to step out of that bed, turn around, and look at what a mess your nightmare left that bed in. But unless you do that, you're not going to be able to make it up. And you need to do it with a counselor or supportive person, a pastor or a parent. You need to look at it with them and say, okay, we've really scrunched this lot up. What do we do now to make it up again? And that means the ability to monitor yourself, look at your thinking, and do something about it. It could be in the form of a resolution. I will never again allow myself to get into so much debt. I will never use gambling as a way of fixing my financial issues. I will never again give myself permission to fall in love or develop a crush on somebody, or to let my heart go where my brain didn't go first. Often people have affairs during manic phases, and they buy things they can't afford, or they put money on a sure bet, and as a result they're going to get kicked in the tail, and hopefully they can recover from that.
Mm. Mm. Well, that's a good truth coach, guys. If you are this way inclined, to ask yourself, am I siding with the facts even before you going down that road? Write this out, put it beside your bed, against my dominating feelings.
Don't let your heart go anywhere your head didn't go first, girls.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, number 12. This mood, this anger, this excitement, this utter despair, does it represent changes in the reality of the situation, or merely the mood I woke up in this morning? So has anything really changed? That's a good
Attitude. Attitude is everything. Perspective is everything. You have to learn to live above circumstances rather than underneath circumstances. But there's one thing worse than living under circumstances, Kylie. Do you know what that is? Living under your moods.
Right.
When moods are supreme, moods hold center stage, when moods have the whip hand, when emotions decide your day for you, then you're in deep trouble. And that's like living under circumstances. Whatever happens should not determine your mood for you. You should decide on how you're going to think about it, and you should decide whether you will be optimistic about this situation or whether you'll be pessimistic about it. It's not in the situation itself, it's in how you approach it every time.
And if you are a man or a woman of faith, trust, that everything will work out as long as you don't do anything stupid, of course.
Well, that gives you a head start, doesn't it? And that's where we remember the words of King David. Why are you cast down, O my mind, O my soul, O my emotions? Hope in God, I shall once again trust him.
Yes. Okay, we're nearly through them all. No, I don't need to get it all done now, today, while I have the chance. That's just a childhood fear of missing out, a leftover that is putting me under too much duress. That's a goodie.
The opportunity will come again. Stop panicking. Don't be so crucializing in your approach to that opportunity. The sale will come again. The special will come again. The opportunity will come again. You don't have to jump or grab it if it's the wrong timing. Making the right decision at the wrong time can be disastrous. And so do feel free to have an exit strategy if it doesn't work. But ask yourself, why does it have to be done now? Why does it have to be done today? Isn't that a false urgency that says this opportunity will never come again? That's nonsense. This opportunity will come again, maybe in a different form, a different shape, but it will come again.
Yes, and if you're not ready, it's just not meant to be.
That sounds like fatalism to me.
Oh, does it? Oh, well. Okay, number 14. Utterly absorbed, the life and soul of the party, talking too fast, talking without listening. Warning bells should be sounding about now, before the slide out of self-awareness and down the slippery slope begins. The movement from passionate to volatile, and from volatile to unstable, and from unstable to mad is too subtle a continuum for all, but the alert to sound the alarm. So these are warnings that you can look at. Are you utterly absorbed? Are you the soul of the party, talking too fast, talking without listening, etc.? Is that so?
Yes, it is. And those are all warning bells in themselves. They're all a warning to say we're crossing that line. So it's very important, I think, to know when the warning bells go off.
Okay. Two more, and that's it. God's hand of blessing resists the arrogant mind that despises the views of all lesser mortals, but gives its grace to the teachable, the correctable, humble soul. Which one do I represent at present? And that's in James 4, verse 6.
Hey, I want to fly too, but I don't want to fly too close to the sun. And the arrogant mind tries to fly too high, and the despairing person doesn't even try to fly. We are looking for something that is realistic. If that happens to be bunny hops along the runway, that's fine. But we do have to say to ourselves, my expectations, did I examine them? Are they realistic? And am I setting myself up for failure?
And that question, is this sustainable?
It's a key question. Yeah.
This is the last one, guys. One's spirit can be dragged behind one's mind, like a child can be dragged along under a runaway horse, and it's not going to be pretty. You must grab the reins while you still can. Pull yourself back.
Well, if you think of the child on the horse as the spirit, you are a spirit, and the horse that's galloping out of control as the mind, becomes very obvious very quickly that the child must get control of the horse before it falls off and gets dragged underneath. And I've seen many people that remind me of a child being dragged under a horse. My mother saw that once as the pony club riding instructor. She said, I don't ever want to see that sight again. When we caught the horse, we could not recognize the child's foot caught in the stirrup. The face of the child was unrecognizable. And sometimes I see the spirit of a person being dragged by an unhinged mind, and you can't recognize the person they once were. Now the addiction has taken over, the anger has taken over, the despair has taken over, the sarcasm or the insecurity has taken over. And where there was a human spirit, now there is just a soul out of control, and it's a pitiful thing to see.
Well, guys, there's some tips there. And you know what? I've just turned the page, and you've got another page and a half of more truth coaches on this topic. So maybe we'll
I
do
have a
another
busy
one.
brain. I've got to watch out for manic phases as well.
Oh, well, that's right. You know, we need to manage our enthusiasm, guys.
That's right.
It's great
That's
to be enthusiastic and to have and use our gifts and talents and to dream and to
That's it.
do wonderful things, but it needs to be measured and it needs to be something that can be consistent and grow and develop with consistency.
Guard your enthusiasm, moderate your enthusiasm. That's it.
Yeah. Hey, thank you, David, for another awesome night of life is for living, guys. Let's make
Yes, it
the most
is.
of it.
Indeed, it is.
Bye.